Hello buddy, Insane Frame here. Welcome to a challenge video, a Skyrim challenge video. In the last challenge we did Fallout New Vegas as an NCR soldier. If you've ever considered doing a challenge and don't know where to start, I would definitely give that a go. But today we are not in the NCR, today we are in Skyrim. And today we ask the question, can you beat Skyrim as Jackfrost? Now Jackfrost is known for his ice power, so we'll be using only ice spells in all their glory. Ice spells do the least amount of damage. However, they have a lot of utility in that they slow down enemies, and they can also be used against multiple enemies. It comes in very handy, although it doesn't deal damage like fire or chain lightning. It does have a place amongst dealing with melee attackers, so this is going to be fairly interesting. And a challenge that hopefully will be very rewarding, but we'll have to wait and see. I definitely think this is doable, but we might have to go to the College of Winterhold. In fact, we almost certainly do, but with all of that out the way, let's go into the rules. We may only use ice spells to deal damage. No armor value will be allowed, so that means no light or heavy armor, only wizard robes. No glitter exploits, and we're going to be playing on master level difficulty. So with everything set and everything in place, let's begin the challenge. The game starts, and as always in Skyrim we start on a carriage, but through the power of editing we skip this part. We go to character creation. I want to get this part sorted and then we can move on to making things happen. We make our character the lovable 2000s emo Jackfrost. He has a mohawk, a face only a mother could love. So we get into it, and when we do, we just run through the tutorial area. It really isn't that bad, and when Hadvar released us, we just run for it. So when all the Stormcloaks are around us, we just do the same thing and run on through without a care. It's actually not too bad, and since we can just run through, it really doesn't last that long. When we get outside, we decide to chop some wood, a peaceful moment for Jackfrost. Then we get our first spell, and this is going to be our bread and butter for a while. This is Frostbite. Frostbite is a novice level spell, and it will let us give low level enemies a little bit of a fight. We decide to go into the mines and start freezing enemies. It's a lot of back and forth, but thankfully ice slows enemies down and allows us to regen our mana as we run away. We don't have any armor, so they can dish a lot of damage to us if we're cornered. However, when all is said and done, we manage to get a lot of loot, so we can purchase our first robes this run. This will allow us to regenerate our mana by 50%, making this run a little bit easier. We make our way immediately to Whiterun, and the Jarl begins talking to us, and we are directed to his court wizard, who wants us to delve in some dungeons and scour around for some relics to combat the dragons. So we go ahead and decide to kill more bandits for more cash and to level up our destruction. But we find some bandits and share them what for in order to get our next bit of kit, an ice rune. These pretty much act as magical landmines and are extremely fun. Anyone who treads on them takes huge ice damage, allowing us to get some extra damage if we plan accordingly. Before we go into the ruins, I let this wolf attack me several times. He is our new sparring partner, and we get to level 2. Then I select Novice Restoration, allowing us to heal a lot more with using Novice level Restoration. We keep going and we level up Restoration magic a little bit. I repeat this process until we get 30 Restoration, which lets us spend a perk point to get a perk allowing us to regenerate our magic 25% faster. And whilst we're at it, we also go for a single perk point into Novice Destruction spells, so our frost spells cost half as much now. With a little more magic regen to back us up, we are a-okay to go to the ruins. As we go into the ruins, the bandits here are pretty straightforward, and rather than letting this guy die from the trap, I decide to get more destruction experience by killing him and then solving the puzzle ourselves, which is as easy as making a cup of Yorkshire tea. The spider takes a lot of damage, and those of you that have arachnophobia, I won't show spiders in this video. I won't show the fight at all, but here's its leg so you know it's dead as it's lootable. But we kill the next guy as he is webbed up and grab the claws. We get further in. The first problem to run crops up, and that is the Dragonrend. They're resistant to our cold, so our kills take a while. Luckily this hilarious trap is in place so we can make the enemy fling round the room. Also we encounter the restless Dragonrend. They are very difficult at this stage of the game. But we didn't die, but it's becoming apparent ice damage isn't our best choice here. However, we do get to the boss chamber, and they are easy peasy, as we can just jump on the ledge, keep kiting the boss around, and the shout that they do doesn't really do that much damage at all. So we can use our Frost Ray no problem on him, allowing us to KO them, and once we do, we go up loot them, get the quest item, allowing us to continue with the story. After doing the first dungeon, we hit level 5 and decide to go for Apprentice Destruction. So all apprentice level spells are now half the cost. We go to Whiterun and sell our stuff, then it's time to talk to the Jarl, and one of his guards have spotted a dragon, so we decide to do the normal thing and go kill it. But since we don't have much armour, this fight is quite difficult for many reasons. 1, the dragon flies, 2, it hurts, and 3, we have very little armour, so we let our henchmen deal with the dragon. We sit near cover while casting ice spells, and it does take a good 10 minutes to kill the dragon, and it's got a lot of health. But we do it, and then the dragon is slain. However, everyone bickers whether we are a dragonborn or not after we absorb the dragon's soul and what it means. So we go back to Whiterun and speak to the Jarl. Everyone doesn't believe us until the Greybeards call for us, and everyone then decides we are the chosen one without question, since the Greybeards are very defiant gentlemen and command respect from all, including us, who minds their manners, mind you, since we do not wish to use their shouty McShout power. It's not ethical or good manners to shout in someone's face after all. Speaking of good manners, this guard is blocking the way, and this noble is clearly in the process of a bribe. Why else would they be all the way out here? So we go up to them, and they don't hear our good manners after we ask them to move, but ignore us. So it's a fight to the death, and the Imperial soldier and the noble are easy enough. But the horse, dear lord, the horse, he is a tanky horse and takes several blasts of our ice powers. But sure enough, we manage, and since we leveled up our destruction, we level up, and we decide to go for some magicka, and our perk point is going in dual casting. So when we cast our spell with both hands, it turns into a more powerful version cast. Think of it as supercharging a spell, I guess. So we can now make more snow cones in Skyrim. Anyway, we find this gentleman who's at the start of the stairs, and the dialogue shows this is the way. And we see a woman, and she is very rude to us. So we decide to freeze her like a snowman, and lo and behold, on her person, heresy manuals. Honestly, the Greybeards won't like that. Speaking of which, we visit the Greybeards and they test our shout. The only one we know, I must say. They have excellent outfits and look very, very good and distinguished. They live up to their names, and once we've taken out the target, we head outside to do a shout to speed us up. And when we see the gate open, we dash on in using a shout to assist us. Once everything has concluded, we are to go to another dungeon, but first I decide to go to the College of Winterhold, and we cast a simple spell allowing us to gain entry in the college. When we do, we're directed to our tutor, and we get given novice robes of destruction and a hat to grant 30 magicka. Not bad, as these would have been quite expensive, and we're also here to train some destruction. We have to attend a class, explain how wards work. They're basically shields or spells in Skyrim, letting you block a certain amount of damage, as demonstrated here. As the class leaves, and are probably never going to come back, we decide to visit our new master, who specialises in destroying all life. But there she is sat in a chair. So we buy Frostbite, a new ice spell for us, letting us deal more damage. And we spend our spare change on trained destruction magic. We go for Augmented Frost, allowing us to do 25% more damage with frost spells, so we can deal more damage. Always nice, like some good old Yorkshire tea. As we go through the dungeon, our ice spells are hitting, and I got a system where I cast Frostbite and just aim with Ice Spike. Occasionally I'll use a Frost Rune if the enemy need kiting, but the combination of Frostbite and Frostbite is pretty good. Also, we can snipe people with powerful Frostbikes by dual casting it, so all is good, and everything seems to be working really well. The rest lists here are pretty difficult as they have magic of their own and large hit pools. All in all, it's just a game of patience, drawing them out and kiting them around a little, letting us get some damage, then go outside, rest up, rinse and repeat. After we throw more snow cones at the undead, we get to the important bit where we use our shout. It's over in a couple of seconds, then we get to the altar as we take in the scene. We see a mysterious note: we have to rent a room in a place that doesn't have an attic. Okay, sure, but first we do the usual and sell all of our stuff, and then train more destruction for our master at Winterhold. And this time we get two powerful spells at depth level. First we get Frostcloak, which is kind of meh, so melee units will take frost damage if they come near us. And also, we learn Froststorm, which is just the absolute daddy of frost spells. So we can do a hefty amount of damage. This will pretty much sell us straight for the rest of the game. So now we are pretty darn good. We also speak to Delphine, and she has a secret basement. Goodness knows why no one has happened upon it, but she decides she can't trust us, and that with the whole thing with the horn, which makes no sense, being she saw us with the Isle of Whiterun. But enough about the story. Decide to ignore Delphine and go shopping for some nice new items as we have some gold. I go to Solitude and find a necklace that helps our mana regenerate 25% faster. That is pretty substantial and it's dirt cheap, so why not? And also we managed to pick up a destruction ring from Whiterun, so we are set for items and can continue putting up with Delphine. She slows the progress of the story, but she wants to kill a dragon and shows us her secret basement in the inn, so it's not all bad. But it didn't really serve any purpose, so we wrap things up and decide to go kill a dragon. Alduin is here, but we have to hurry along the story, so we go ahead and use some ice storms on this dragon. And when we do, we kind of resort to going back to ice spikes, and Delphine is being a good distraction as the draggy bites her, but we can sit back and chip away at the dragon, so this fight isn't too difficult as we just keep ice spiking them. And that is that. We talk to Delphine. She wants us to infiltrate the Thalmor embassy, and we have magic, so we are good. When we get back to Riverwood, Delphine sets us straight, and a random person just comes into the super secret base. Delphine, this really isn't a secret base. I think you might have to relocate somewhere else, dear. We go along with Delphine's plan, and she has a party invitation to the Thalmor embassy. We drop all of our items off, then we go back to Delphine, who then gives us a party outfit, and then we turn up at the Thalmor embassy, and we have this lady here greet us. She's nice enough and has decent manners. We give a drink to a random redguard. He causes a distraction, and then we go to the kitchen pantry where all of our stuff is located. We gather all our items, and we are now infiltrating the Thalmor embassy. Such fun times. Eventually we end up outside and we have to face some Thalmor security. This is kind of tricky, but we take them out one by one as we overwhelm the first guard with sheer ice magic, and he's no more. The second person, the wizard, is actually the bane of our lives, so a well-placed frost rune and a constant frostbite overwhelms his magic, and ice spike does significant damage, allowing us to end him. And lastly, we have another guard, and he suffers the same fate as the other two. But it's not over yet, as we go inside and we go ahead and cast a frost rune on the floor and damage the guard before running out. As we get outside again, a random man tries to attack us. I forgot to use our other spells, but it turns out frost rune is amazing when applied repeatedly, as this guy finds out the hard way. If he was pleasant, I would have let him go, but no, he has bad manners, so it must be taken out, and we decide to equip some Thalmor gloves. They may be bad, but damn do they got style, and it makes us look more stylish. Maybe a touch evil, but it has no armor and looks cool, so why not? We go to the interrogation chamber and use frost rune along with frostbite, so we are killing no problem. The mage then charges us, but we shimmy away and then use a good old frostbite as we Jackfrost after all, and they are destroyed before we release the prisoner. We decide to cast a frost rune at the door before we talk to the prisoner, and then when we free him, the trap goes off, and we do the same at the bottom of the stairs. And our elf friend is fighting poorly, but I guess he is a good meat shield after all. So we use Ice Spike to hit the enemies like a marksman and go round our elf friend, and we manage to kill the enemies no problem, and our elf subordinate is done for. So we loot everyone of their equipment, and then we go to Riften and go to the Ratway. There's some thugs and they get dealt with since we keep spiking them, and depleting their health bars is what Jackfrost does best after all. So we destroy everyone, and some awkward kill cams play here and there as we destroy them, and we quickly get to the Thieves Guild, who gives some empty threats to the tactical genius of Jackfrost, who's also a Dragonborn, and well, yeah, thanks, Todd. Anyway, we go further in and see more Thalmor. They're certainly annoying at this rate, and the magic doesn't really stand a chance one-on-one. However, some soldiers come through, and we go back to the Thieves Guild. Turns out they just don't care, so we fight the soldiers in the Thieves Guild. After all, they said there would be trouble, and I guess they were telling the truth in a weird way, so thank you for the warning, guys. Manners, ladies and gentlemen. You can find them in the most unlikely places. Anyway, we keep going forwards and we find a chef who goes back into the freezer, and we begin speaking to Esbern, who, to be honest, has better security than Delphine, so we are let in, and he speaks to us believing we are the Dragonborn. We convince Esbern to come with us. After a brief encounter with a dragon, we go ahead and jump on in a cave connected to our quest of getting to Alduin's wall. We defeat a couple of Forlorn, and then we solve some very basic puzzles. I mainly just guess them, but when we get our shiz together, we do a tile puzzle, and once we pull the chain, we are all good. After we give some of our blood, the way opens up, and it opens up for our friends. We are over Alduin's wall, and we need a shout called Dragonrend, although our character doesn't know that yet and will need an important quest item. We go back to the Greybeards, hand the horn over and explain we need a shout to beat Alduin. They do not want us to learn it. The dragons tell them off, so they allow us to learn a shout to clear the skies. Honestly, probably the best shout you can learn in England to clear all the rain from the skies. I would love that shout. But anyway, once we trek up the mountains, we manage to go ahead and see Parthenax. Probably my favourite character in Skyrim. He's a talking dragon and lets us use fire, but he has a crazy idea since no one knows Dragonrend, and Alduin is cast into our time, which is his future, our present. We need to use an Elder Scroll to learn the Dragonrend shout from the past. Complicated, I know, but that's what we're given, so we decide to go to the College of Winterhold and ask if they know where to find such an item that can tear apart reality in the universe itself. Whilst at the college, we upgrade our armour so our magic regenerates faster, and we have ever so slightly more, so we get a small power up. We go to the ice fields and speak to an insane man, my kind of guy, who gives us the supposed location of the Elder Scroll. We start to travel there. When we are there, we come across some Dwarven ruins, so we just run through, ignoring most of the enemies, as the mechanical enemies can't take cold damage. So ignoring them and running for it is our best bet. As for the Thalmor and the ruins, we can fight them, and we do. They need to go and become ice cubes. That after placing some frost runes and repeatedly doing ice spikes and all that malarkey into the guys, they fall, and then we see a centurion spawn. Now, rather than fight this thing, we go over to the ledge and let it walk towards us, and then we decide to go over to the dead centurion and get the lever. Once we do, we can unlock everything, and two people are having a fight. We really don't care about their fight or their trifles, so we just keep moving forwards. When inside, we are in a Thalmor area, and it actually looks amazing, but we have a job to do and get an Elder Scroll. So we go ahead, trek on through. It's quite peaceful and a lovely walk, and we get to the contraption. I keep pushing buttons from left to right, and it works. The most powerful thing in the universe, an Elder Scroll, solved by randomly pushing buttons from right to left. Good job, Todd. Good job. After we acquire it in glorious fashion, we take it to our insane friend here and then leave him to his devices. We go back to our Dragonborn mentor and use the Elder Scroll to try and learn Dragonrend. And the cutscene plays. I made a cup of tea whilst this was happening. Time well spent, if you ask me. And when everything concludes, it's time to fight Alduin in round 1. With this fight, it was easy. All we did was hide behind the rock, keep casting Ice Storm as it travels in a circle towards the target, and Alduin being so big means he takes a lot of damage from Ice Storm, so we just keep Dragonrending him and keep him on the ground, and we packed healing potions as the meteors from the sky still damage us, but we keep hitting Alduin, and it's mainly just a waiting game as he can't hit us, and we heal from the meteors with potions. It is the ultimate cheese, I will admit, but cheese I shall do to win. Alduin ultimately has a speech, so we spike him in the eye several times, make sure he gets the message, and when he flies off, we need to speak to the Jarl of Whiterun to help us catch a dragon to reveal Alduin's lair. Parthenax is looking pretty bad, but we then have to get a peacekeeping conference. So we go to the Jarl of Whiterun, he agrees. We also go to General Tullius, who agrees. We go to Ulfric Stormcloak, who agrees, and then once we're all in the Greybeards present, we then get the cutscene where we have a peace conference. This takes such a long time, so I get another cup of tea and drink half it by the time it has concluded. Cannot be a good cup of Yorkshire tea. Once everything has concluded, we go to Esbern. He says we have to call Odahviing, or Snow Hunter, at Whiterun so we can get to Alduin's lair. We go to Winterhold College and learn some more destructive magic. So we learn the impact per, so we now have a greater chance of staggering our opponents. Not too bad. We get adept destruction. This will help us tremendously, so now we can cast Ice Storm much easier now, just like Jackfrost was supposed to. But since I have so much gold, I train till we get 75 destruction and get a couple of expert level spells. This took a lot of time, but we're ready to go see Alduin now. We call Odahviing and back away so he can go ahead and back up, letting him be captured. This allows us to start some dialogue, and once we're friends, we get to release him and then agree to ride on his back to the villain's lair. So we're all set for the final part of the game. When we're at the final part, we snipe some of the enemies and push forwards. The dragons aren't too bad as we use Dragonrend and use our higher level spells after the initial defences have been bypassed. They are then bypassed as well as they are no longer with us. And then we have to deal with some Dragonrend. They still take less damage from the cold, but we're to a point that it doesn't really matter as our cold spells are very good now. But Alduin has a couple of tricks, a simple puzzle, but after some monkey madness of randomly turning them, we're through and keep going. There are some enemies outside, but the impact perk works amazingly well, and as we use our ice calls in the enemy, it is a cheap but spammable spell to deal with them, and more enemies show up, so we just think, screw this. We get to the temple up top where Dragon Priest is located, and there's a quick shortcut here, and we just sprint into the portal and end up in Sovngarde. Pretty much skipping a lot of encounters up top, so we go ahead and drop in, allowing us access to the final part of the game. When we're in Sovngarde, we have lots of mists to wander through. It's pretty easy as we can just use the British clear sky shout, although it's not necessary. But once we get to the Hall of Heroes in Sovngarde, we see a very tall guy. Little does he know that our ice spikes will make him auto fail against us. So we continuously use the ice spike and he's done for. Turns out all you need is an ice spike and you're set to enter the Hall of Heroes in Skyrim. Anyway, we get there and we see the Greybeard's leader. He's pretty cool, as it turns out. And we meet the other guys with the voice and begin to face Alduin outside of Sovngarde. With full use of the voice, we clear the area for reasons, I guess, as apparently we can't see. And then the fight with Alduin happened. Even though we just use Ice Storm to devastate him and finish him off with some ice spikes into him, he poses no threat for us. And all that darkness and light leaves his body, ending the run, completing the challenge, answering the question, can you beat Skyrim as Jackfrost using only ice spells? And yes, you can, and it was a pretty awesome time doing so too. Okay, I'm going to admit, this challenge wasn't that bad, and there were certainly road bumps like the undead being resistant to ice spells and getting gold early on, but as soon as we got rolling, things got way easier for us. Ice Spike was the saviour of this run, and once we unlocked Impact with dual casting, it just let us cheese it and lock people in place, making one-on fights super easy. Barely a challenge. But when faced with a larger threats like Thalmor spellcasters, we had a lot of trouble. And a few redos here and there, but you know, it's the way these challenges go sometimes. We pulled through, and having no armour, well, that was a nightmare sometimes, but some wizard roads really made things difficult, and sometimes we would just get one shot. But there's another challenge there, and I'll probably actually return this one, see if we can do the game with just Frostbite. But I'll take a break from Skyrim for a while, and for our next challenge, I've noticed a lot of you have been watching the Punch Club challenge. I did that ages ago, and Punch Club 2's out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Punch Club True, train only one stat, and it should be a lot easier than the first game since stat decay is not a thing and there's neuro training in that game. So yeah, the filing will be fierce, but there'll be a lot of neuro training to focus on, so I'll get on with that challenge. Anyway, I've been Insane Frame. Thank you very much for watching this video. Have a great day, a wonderful evening, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and I've been Insane Frame, and this is me signing off. Have a good day, everybody. Laylas, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.